Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Food Co-op Initiative webinar series and today's special presentation on our seed grant awards. We're going to try to give you all the information you need to make a good application and to understand what the process is. I'm Stuart Reed. I'm the Executive Director of Food Co-op Initiative, and we are hoping that all of you will be just anxious to send in a great application, and this will help you out. So we're going to go kick right in today. A little bit about us. If you don't know us already, please call us and talk to us. We'd love to help you in a more personal way. And there's some contact information for you. Our sponsors, and this is sponsors for everything we do, include the USDA's Rural Co-op Development Program, the Blooming Prairie Foundation, National Cooperative Bank, National Co-op Grocers, the Cooperative Foundation, the Cooperative Fund of New England, and dozens of co-ops that have helped us out with contributions to our work. And if any of you are listening and have deep pockets, we can always use a little help. Thank you. Okay, end of plug. So today, we expect that you'll have questions. I'm going to try to answer the most common ones, and always there are more, so that's great. We want questions. Please make note of this. We'll put this up again later, but in order to ask questions, since you can't do it live, unfortunately, send an email note to info@fci.coop or call 844-324-2667. Mary will get your questions and forward them on to me, and we will do our best to answer as many as possible. All right, so let's get into the seed grants. I am going to, today, try to cover a little overview of what the whole program is about and talk to you about what you need to put together to make an application, what we do with those applications and how we rank them, the follow-up after grants are awarded for those who do receive them. And although you can send questions at any time, we'll make sure we try to capture as many as possible toward the end. So the background. We've been doing this as Food Co-op 500 was the organization that preceded us, and they started this at the very beginning of their existence in 2005. And since then, these have been funded by the Blooming Prairie Foundation right from the start. And since we became a nonprofit and changed our name to Food Co-op Initiative, we've been getting funding from the USDA, and those USDA, being a rural cooperative development organization, wants us to use those to support rural cooperatives. So we do have some grants available to urban and some to rural, although we all care about that. Up till now, we've awarded 69 of these seed grants and over $551,000 worth, which, because it's matched in the local communities, means that we've put over $1 million in investment in new co-ops out there. I'm pretty proud of that. So why are we using the seed grant program? What's the purpose? Mainly to give some development funding to you, startup co-ops, especially when you are at the early stages, not the very beginning perhaps, but early enough that you don't have ready sources of funding yet, and you need some services, and we hope that having that available at the right time will ensure that you get the best help you need. By offering these grants on a matching basis, it'll help you to start doing effective fundraising in your own community, raising a minimum of the same amount as our grant, and that experience can play a lot in future efforts. You'll learn how to approach people and get out there. We see it as sort of an award of recognition as well as an award of money. If you've gotten one of our seed grants, usually the pool of applicants is deep. We get 2 to 3 to 4 times as many applications as we can fund. And the fact that you have successfully gotten a grant is a reason why you should be proud of your organization, and you can use that information, that pride, to well, that's interesting. Apparently, we lost our uh, signal there a moment. I apologize. Also apologize if I cover some of the same material twice, because I'm not exactly sure when we lost you. So anyway, I believe I probably covered leveraging local investment, and what I was saying about recognizing our people that get the awards is, we believe that the fact that you are able to successfully get one of these seed grant awards is an indication of the strength of your project and something to be proud of, something you can use to promote your co-op to potential members and your community. So we encourage you to use PR on that to the extent that you can. All right, and we do also use it partly as a carrot. We don't have any sticks, so we use carrots to encourage you to use the best practices that we've identified, the things we know help a co-op be successful. It doesn't mean it's the only way to do things, but we do encourage people that use the 4 cornerstones and 3 stages development model by giving them a little bit of preference in the grant program. And so if you have questions about that development model, if you're not familiar with it yet, I would encourage you to contact us at the same number that we gave you for information or for questions, and we'd be happy to help you. And finally, the seed grants help us build closer working relationships with the co-ops that receive them. We make a commitment to those co-ops that we will work with them closely, that we will try to be in touch with them and check in monthly at least once during the year after they get the grant. We'll try to visit them in person and spend time with the board, with the community, with basically to help you out any way we can during that visit. So those closer working relationships have been very effective in helping groups stay on path and stay motivated. So we think it's very important. Now, what can you do with a seed grant? We do have some restrictions. We want to make sure the money is used for the best possible purpose and gets you the most bang for your buck. And one of the things that we've identified, we're so proud of, is our up and coming conference. We just got back from this year's, and I hope a lot of you that are on the call were there. I know a lot of you on the call probably were there because we had 150 people from over 64 different co-ops as attendees. A record for us, just an amazing event with great training and networking. So we feel so good about it that we are making it a required part of the grant. You need to send at least one of your organizers, and we encourage you to send more than that, to next year's conference. And that $1,000 that I'm showing here is just a ballpark. You know, you can put into the grant however much you estimate it will take to send somebody to Milwaukee, which is where it will be next year, to spend a couple of nights, and about $200 per person in registration fees. It's pretty affordable. So whatever you think it will cost to send at least one person, and you can include more than that in that amount if you wish, it goes on that line. The rest of the grant can be used for professional services. It could be for other training events as well, if that's something your co-op has identified as a need. And we'll go into some greater detail about the kinds of specific services and things that people would be eligible to use the grant for a little later. So altogether, the grant can be a maximum of $10,000 that we contribute. Now, the 50% match that we require means that you have a total budget of $20,000 in projects that you're going to use for your grant application. We will pay 10,000 of that. You will match it with 10,000 that you raise from local sources. The matching funds can come from a variety of different places. Membership equity is a great place to get it. A small grant that you may have gotten is perfectly acceptable. We would like to encourage you to exceed that amount, of course, because it'll help you, but that's what you need to raise. And I'm often asked, do I have to have that when I'm already in the bank when I apply for the grant? The answer is no, but you do have to have it available before we'll reimburse you for anything in the grant. So, for example, if you spent $10,000, $12,000 on a market study and you send us a copy of your invoice, we'll send you $5,500 as long as we know that you've paid the other half. So, which proves that you have the money, of course. Hope that isn't too confusing. It really is simpler than it sounds, and we'll be happy to work with you when the time comes. So, on that last slide there, I just wanted to point out that we will be making sure you get at least one, I'm not sure how many, but we'll be getting you a subscription to one or more copies of the Cooperative Grocer magazine as a free bonus, and that site visit and any workshops we do for you is included also as part of the grant. It doesn't come out of the $10,000. That's we cover that cost with other funds. Okay. All right, so here's some examples of the kinds of things that have been used as projects for seed grants, and these are things that we recommend. And they're not exactly in the order of preference, but the first one certainly is. If you have not yet had a professional market study, strongly encourage you to include that in your proposal. They're expensive, but they're essential. And when I say professional market study, I'm referring to hiring a consultant that does professional market research and understands food co-ops and the retail industry. We can give you recommendations on that. If you're needing that to do your grant application, by all means, talk to us. Other examples would be any kind of legal services that you need. Since we require that you already be incorporated, that's not likely to be one of them, but maybe you're updating your bylaws or finishing up on bylaws. You may be preparing documents for a capital campaign. Anything like that that requires legal advice would be acceptable. Having someone work with you on your financial projections, your budgets for the opening of the store, either the budget, the sources and uses budget, which is what you're going to spend to get the store open, or your financial projections for after the store is open. Either one, those are acceptable and great uses of the funds. If you are farther along in your progress, you may want to hire somebody to do your store layout, your store design work. At any stage of organizing, board training may be appropriate, and there's different options out there for that. We also will consider proposals that include compensation for a project manager, whether that's the membership campaign manager or later in the project when you're getting ready to manage construction and things like that. It's not our favorite place to see the money go. We'd rather see you using consulting services that you wouldn't be able to get easily without the grant. But it is possible to include that. And finally, like I said earlier, if you want to go to another workshop besides Up and Coming, you can include that in there too. In some parts of the country, there are some annual workshops that are appropriate for startups. As always, just ask. Okay, what are the deadlines and the timeline? Here you go. We will begin accepting applications on March 28th. Since we haven't put out the application form yet, I doubt that anybody's ready to send it to me today. So you've got a couple of weeks before the start and about a month altogether to get those together. It shouldn't take that long. We try to keep the process as simple as possible while still getting the kind of information that we need. So that's your timeline. The final application deadline, April 17th, and we don't look at the postmarks well, please, no postmarks. We want everything by email. It's much easier for us to handle electronic applications. But we do want it to arrive that day. We will need about 2 weeks to review them all. As I said, we get quite a lot, and we will notify you as soon as we possibly can. We're targeting May 2nd. If there may be a delay, if there is, we'll try to let everybody know, but we'll do the best we can to meet that deadline. And allowing us a couple days to make sure that we've talked to you first, then we will make public announcements about the seed grants and around May 5th, and encourage you to use those PR releases, modify them, create your own, and send them out to your community. And you will get a package of paperwork. Unfortunately, there's nothing in this life that doesn't come with paperwork that you'll need to review and sign and send back to us. And we'd like to get that within a couple weeks. Don't need to worry about that particularly right now. It's not too much, just an agreement that you will use the funds as you proposed, and a couple other things that the government likes us to do. Okay, so once you have received a grant, the successful applicants, we ask that you propose projects that you can complete within a year. We are willing to review where you're at the end of that year and consider an extension, but the goal is that you are going to have it done by end of May of next year. Okay, more details. So when you're making an application, you are not eligible unless you can meet these requirements. These are not flexible. You need to have been incorporated already, either as a cooperative or as, if your state doesn't have a consumer cooperative statute, you may incorporate as a not-for-profit, please, not a non-profit 501c3. That's not what I'm talking about. They just call it not-for-profit in those states. And if you have bylaws and articles of incorporation that show that you are operating as a cooperative, the type of incorporation is not essential. But for most of you, incorporating as a food cooperative in your state, consumer cooperative, is the right approach. You have to be planning to open a retail storefront. We cannot fund a buying club, an online buying club, a food distribution site, or a commercial kitchen. Those have all come up in the past. We're looking for retail brick and mortar storefronts. That's our mission. You have to raise the matching dollars, not at the time you make the application, but before you get any of the money from us. The uses that you put in your grant application, how you propose to use it, have to be appropriate to the criteria we've established. All of this, by the way, well, not all of the details, but all of the essential parts of this will be on the application document that you'll be able to download. So if you're taking notes desperately, we will have this available as well for you to see the slides, download them, and most of the information that you need should be on the application form when the time comes. So. And then the last thing here is that the activities that you're asking for money to do have to happen after the award. If you've already had a market study, we're not going to reimburse you for it now. You should have taken care of your budget and paid for that yourselves. This is for new work. Okay? So how to go about it? We're trying to keep this as simple as possible. If you go to our website, there are two places where you can click on loans and grants on the home page. The seed grant information will come up right away. There'll be a link to download the seed grant application. That link is not there as of this minute. It will be up within a day or two. So be patient with us. I will try to get it up by tomorrow. Part of it is an electronic form where you just fill in the blanks and submit, and part of it is documentation that you'll need to provide in other formats. So when you download that application, please read it. Be familiar with what we're asking for before you start. We hate to have to turn down a grant applicant that looks really good because they just missed something important. And we will try to help you fix those things if we can, but we can't help you fix getting incorporated in time. Complete the online application form, submit that. Complete the race and ethnicity form, and I'll talk about that a little bit more because it confuses people, and put together the documentation you need to support your grant application. And very important, we do want it by email. I can't emphasize that enough. If you send us a paper copy, I'm going to call you and say, send it to me again by email. So don't waste your time and postage by mailing it to us. All right. The documentation you need with your grant application will be proof that you are incorporated. In other words, a copy of your articles of incorporation and bylaws. Occasionally people incorporate and don't file their bylaws at the same time. We're willing to go with that as long as you explain why you're still working on them. A sources and uses budget. This is a simple tool. We have a template for it, and there will be a link right on the application form so you don't have to look for it. It tells you how much you're going to need and what you're going to spend it on to get a store open, and where you're going to get that money and what you're going to, where you're going to get the money from, who, how much, and it's just a great planning tool that we really want you to use. And it tells us how well you've thought out your process. So if you don't know, it's based a lot on the store size. If you don't know the store size, use your best estimate of what you think you're interested in or you're planning on to do this. Again, we have some webinars on using the sources and uses budget, and we're happy to answer questions. We want you to give us a very brief bio and the contact information for your board members. And I've lost my screen. Have I lost my connection? Just give us a second here. Well, thank you for your patience. I apologize. Somebody must have forgotten to put a quarter in the internet parking meter. I think I got through the board bios complete before we lost the connection. And the next thing is, and you see I emphasize brief, please. We don't want your life history in great detail. We just want to know what you've already done, what you've been able to accomplish as a working group. Try to keep it, do keep it under 2 pages. Often 1 page is enough. And then here's that race and ethnicity form again. Okay, now we'll talk about that. This is what it looks like, and you don't have to try to read it, but just so you recognize it when you do see it. We'll go right to the next screen. The USDA, because we get grant funding from them, requests that we have this filled out by everyone that applies for the grants, not just the ones who get them. And it's a form that is designed essentially for an individual or a small held business, not a cooperative. And it always confuses people how they're supposed to fill it out. Instead of just checking one, as it says on racial categories, we would appreciate it if you would think about what the approximate background makeup is of your community. not necessarily your membership, but if you have a lot of members already, you could use your membership as a basis for this. If you don't have a large membership, use your best estimate of how the breakdown might look once you're ready to open. Do the best you can. It's a guess, it's an estimate. We understand that. That's acceptable. And you'll note that they also tell you that you're not required to send it back. We will ask you about it if you don't, and if you, for some reason, really don't want to, that's fine. But we're going to make sure that you didn't just forget it. Optional documentation, things that aren't required but might help us to make a decision, would be a summary, not the whole thing, but an executive summary of the feasibility or market study that you may have already done. If you have already done financial projections, we'd love to take a look at those. If you've got a timeline for or a work plan for how you're getting from where you are now to an open store, definitely something you can include. And a business plan if you have one. Now, business plans do tend to be lengthy documents, and I'll be honest, we can't read all the details in it, but we can make a good opinion of how well you're doing your business planning by scanning through it and looking at critical sections. So that is an option. All right, so that's what we're asking you for. Now, what are we going to do with those applications when we get them? Well, Mary and Jacqueline and I are each going to look at them, and we're all going to look at the same things. These are the essential components that we're looking for. First of all, do you meet all the grant application requirements? If not, we're probably not going to look at the rest of it at all. We like clear and concise documents. We're not giving bonus points for length. In fact, quite the opposite. If you can say it well in a few words, we will be very appreciative. We do give preference to co-ops who have not already received a seed grant in the past. Co-ops that have received a seed grant in the past are eligible, but the truth is that we rarely have enough grant money to award the co-ops that haven't got grants and have any left over for those that have. Again, it's up to you whether you feel like it's worth your time to apply. I can't tell you how many applicants we'll have in a given year, so it's your call. Other things we're looking at is the quality of your business planning. Are you well, I'm going to go into more detail on another slide on this. Do you use the available resources, professional consultants, sources of information well? Does your project look like it could be successful? And how much impact will a successful co-op have in its community? And how much benefit will you as an organizing group actually get from getting a grant? Sometimes co-ops are already in the middle of our capital campaign and are doing fairly well. And at that point, I would say that the benefit of getting $10,000 from us would be far less than a group that's earlier in their development and still needs professional consultants before they have a capital campaign. So. Okay. So in more detail, for business planning, we want to see that you are looking at the co-op not just as a community benefit with lofty goals and a strong mission. We hope you do have all of that, of course, but are you looking at it as a business as well and doing what you need to make sure that it can be successful on that level? If you have had a market study, we definitely want to see that it was done by somebody that knows what they're doing. And this is a real problem for some co-ops. They try to find a way to get the market study done inexpensively and end up with something that isn't going to be helpful to them. In fact, could even be detrimental if the estimates are way off. So we strongly encourage you to include this either as part of the grant, and if you have already had one, we want to look at how good it is, so something to think about there. If you are advanced far enough that you would be writing a business plan, That will help us also to see that your business side of your thinking and planning has been done well. So we do want to just see that you're talking about how your business will fit into the community with the competition, how it can be successful as a business, as well as how your co-op can impact the community in terms of growth of people's knowledge of natural foods, their connections with each other. Those are also very important. But for the business review, we're looking at more specifically the numbers side of things. Who are your community partners? Are you well linked in the community? Do you have support in the community from other organizations, from the people that can help you to find sources of funding and other additional supporters? And those financial projections that you've made, even if you have very detailed ones, are they realistic? Are they done well? Okay. For use of industry resources and guidance, we're going to look at whether you've worked with us. Have we been in touch with you with some regularity? Or if you're very new, of course, we won't expect that. Have you worked with other professional consultants, people that know food co-ops, not just a business advisor, but that knows something about retail? We want to see if you're using people that can really help you with the specific needs of food co-ops. Have you, those consultants should also understand the kind of demographic community that is present in your community. Some people work mostly in middle class, middle income communities in urban areas. Some people, and fewer, have experience working in communities of color, in low income communities, in dense urban areas. Use the guidance that is appropriate to what you are doing. And again, the same thing. If you're looking at an all-natural food co-op, which in the past was most of you, then talk to somebody that knows that. If you are planning to have a conventional inventory or a mixed conventional natural inventory, try to find somebody that's familiar with that. We'd love to see that you're getting mentorship from another co-op, nearby or not, but just that connection is very valuable. And what other support are you using? In various parts of the country, most of the country, there are some regional cooperative associations. You may be using them, you may not. Some of them don't do much work with food co-ops, others do. There are also cooperative development centers, the same thing applies. And sometimes there's local business development advisors that can work with you on some aspects of the project. What we're looking for in potential for success. Strong leadership. This is a long, somewhat complicated, and often difficult process. And good leadership paired with an effective board and committees, good structure, commitment, effectiveness, all of that is really important to us. We want to see evidence that your community supports you, and the best evidence of that is generally how many members you've been able to sign up, but there may be other things that would also point in that direction, a partnership with another major organization, for example. We'll definitely look at how well your ownership campaign has gone, and that's relative to how long you've been organizing. We won't expect a co-op that's in the early part of stage 1 to have 500 members, but if you're reaching near the end of stage 2, we certainly will. So, and are your expectations for this co-op planning realistic? Do you understand realistically how long it will take to do it, how much it's going to cost, and how big your co-op needs to be in order to be both viable and effective in your community? We hope so. We'd love to talk to you about those things if you're not, and but that's what we're looking for in the application. And finally, what is the potential impact of the grant and the benefit, impact of the co-op and the benefit of the grant to the co-op? So this is the part where your vision, mission, and ideals can be expressed and should be. What will you do for your community? Some of that may be business related, creating jobs, making food available where it isn't available, any number of possibilities. If you are in a designated food desert or low access food area, we'd like to know that. That may actually give you some bonus points in the application process. Being the, meeting an unmet need is certainly a high impact, and there's various ways that could be done. And finally, as I said earlier, getting the seed grant make a difference for you, a real difference, or is it just $10,000 of extra funds? We're not overly particular about how we look at that, but we do consider it. So once again, I think this might have gotten in the wrong order, but just in summary, those are the major areas where we're looking for you to do well on your application. All right, so for some of you that do get a seed grant, congratulations. We're looking forward to working with you. And what you can expect is to get the paperwork I talked about, which you'll need to return to us fairly promptly. We won't consider the grant official until we do. We'll have a reimbursement process for you. The grant money is paid out to you as you conduct the activities that you proposed. So what if you hire somebody to review your bylaws, a lawyer, and you get a bill for $800, and I hope it's not that high. You send us a copy of the invoice, we'll send you $400. You're responsible for the other $400, the 50-50 match. We keep track of how much of the grant is being used, and we just go forward like that. We'll give you forms to use for requesting those reimbursements. We appreciate you use them. It makes it much easier for us. And we always will need documentation for the expenses, so keep that in mind. We ask that you keep up with us on a monthly basis, either through a written report or a phone call of some kind, or even a visit if that's possible, so that we know how things are going and can help you out if you hit any snags. We will commit to visiting you at your community. And that can be, usually it's at least a full day. Sometimes it's a day and a half or two. It kind of depends on the situation. It will be Jacqueline or I that would probably make that site visit. And we will sit down with you before we come to decide what would be the best use of our time in working with you. We're very flexible, and we really enjoy these visits. It's a great way for us to get to know you better, and we can often do quite a lot of support work with you during that short time. At the end of the grant year, we would love you to complete a report, not anything lengthy, but something that just says, because of the support we got with the seed grant, this is what we were able to accomplish, and this is how we've grown. Something along those lines. And finally, while we don't demand it, we certainly hope that you will stay with us after the end of the grant. We love to follow co-ops. We really appreciate when they stay in touch and keep us in the loop, so that we learn from what you're doing. We learn what people need. We learn what works, what doesn't work. And a lot of people, including those who fund these grants, want to know how our work is impacting you. So once the grant's over, stay in touch. We will do our best to continue helping you right up to opening. Okay, once again, if you need to have a question, and I have a few now, if you haven't sent them in yet, here's your chance. And I'm going to take a look back here and see what I can, any questions. I know there was a question earlier about if you could apply if you had gotten a grant in the past, and I believe I've addressed that. But I would add to that if you didn't ask for the full $10,000 grant, if occasionally co-ops have asked for less. Never quite understood that, but they have, and we'd be more likely to consider another grant if you haven't gotten the full 10,000. But generally speaking, we give preference to those who have not gotten Um, let's see. Uh, the Race and Ethnicity Forum, is it for the community or our membership? Um, if you have a significant membership already, I would base it on the membership, because the odds are good that your uh, member base at opening will be similar to what it is now. If you have only started doing a membership recruitment, base it on the community demographics with consideration of whether or not your location will draw people from all parts of the city. So in other words, more the neighborhood than the full community or the market area. Again, we know it's an estimate. We don't expect you to spend a ton of time trying to figure this out. Give us your best guess. That's all we need. Another question is about whether a co-op stands a chance of getting a grant if they're not strictly following our 4 and 3 development model. The answer is yes, certainly do. If you are using a good development process, if it's not exactly that one, but it makes sense, and you're not trying to avoid doing things that we know will help you be more likely to be successful, if you're going in the wrong direction, no matter what path you're using, yeah, we're going to look at that. But if you're making good progress and all the other things are in place, we're not going to insist that you're strictly following any one development model. Okay, well, it looks like we may have run out of questions for now. Don't hesitate to contact us using the same info@fci.coop and phone number after this webinar if other things occur to you, and I expect they probably will. We'd rather answer your questions before you submit your application so that you can get it right than to have to tell you afterward that you got it wrong. So please don't hesitate. Good luck, and don't sweat it. We're not, we're not a major corporate foundation that looks at every dotted I and crossed T. We're looking for co-ops that can be successful and have a good planning process in place. So that's what you need to concentrate on, not the fine details. Next month, Ben Sandell will be joining me, and we are going to talk about our brand new capital campaign workbook. Hot off the presses, only a few days old, and that's a picture of it right there that you're seeing. It will be up online for you to download within days, probably minutes. It's that new. So we're very excited about it, and hope you can come and hear us talk about capital campaigns in general using what we've learned and put together in the capital campaign workbook next month. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to a great big pile of seed grant applications that'll keep me busy late into the night. Go for it, folks.